And then I let you know when it starts. There might be a little bit of feedback, but you're good.
So just let us know when you're ready.
Wow, it's been a long time since I did PowerPoint. How do I play it?
Trick for next time, down in here, this one right here.
Oh,
Easy. I do that like 47 times a day.
A couple more times, and I get to. There you go. That's good. So are you streaming ready to go?
No.
Thank you so much, Abby. We really are glad to be here on Crystal Pierce, Professor of Environmental Public Health at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. We've been working on looking at air quality for the last dozen years or so. We want to share a little bit of an update here. In addition, we'll install the monitor. We're going to have you help us test it today. It's a purple air monitor, and it's a work that Popple and many of us have put into acquiring grant funding to be able to supply these free to, in this case, libraries, but also residents, people who are near a frac sand operation who want to know their own air quality. And you have these available. So I'm just really proud to have Casey and Mark in my laboratory, and we're going to give a brief presentation of the work we've done, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to test the monitor. And we're really interested in any questions or even points of view or thoughts you might have about the issue of air quality in general and frac sand emissions in particular. So, Casey, I'll turn it to you.
Alrighty, so my name is Casey. I've got the first half of this presentation. And so, because we're talking about air quality, I'm just going to do a little bit of background. So, Clean Air Act was passed in 1963, established its air quality air quality standards. Sorry, for certain pollutants. There are 6 of these big pollutants that it focuses on. And since it's been passed, we've seen a major reduction in air pollution. And because I didn't know what major reduction meant, I looked it up, I figured it out. And so, so from 1980 to 2020, GDP's gone up 173%, vehicle miles traveled have gone up 85%, energy consumption's gone up 19%, and the total US population has gone up 46%. But in that same time frame, total emissions of the 6 principal air pollutants went down 73%. So considering we've been growing, there's more people, we use more energy, we're still polluting way less than we used to. So good job, Clean Air Act. All right, and so the next one shows the 6 principal pollutants. We have ozone, carbon monoxide, lead, sulfur dioxide, and last but not least, particulate matter, which is what we focus on in our research. So particulate matter is created from a number of things. It's created from diesel engines, combustion, frac sand mining. In your home, you can get it from cooking or lighting candles or burning incense. It comes from a whole plethora of places. So there's 2 main kinds of particulate matter. There's PM10 and PM2.5. PM10 is slightly bigger. You can fit about 5 of those in one human hair. They're very, very small. PM10 is not the one we are worried about as a research team as much, simply because when you breathe it in, it stays in your upper respiratory system. It's either sneezed or coughed out. Whereas PM2.5, when you breathe it in, you can go into your lower respiratory system and cause health issues. So PM2.5 is 2 micrometers per, is 2 micrometers in diameter. So you can fit 20 of those in one piece of human hair. So they're very, very, very small. then so for the next one, because PM 2.5 is dangerous to you, the EPA set standards at 12 micrograms per cubic meter. And so for a little bit of context, 12 micrograms, for a little bit of context, in Augusta last week, the average amount of PM 2.5 was approximately 7 micrograms per cubic meter, whereas in Chicago last week, it was about 4, so it was lower in Chicago, which I thought was a little confusing. So I came up with a couple of explanations. Is it possible that last week in Augusta, there was just some bad air? That happens fairly frequently where there's just bad air days. Also, driving down Augusta Main Street, it could be that there's more diesel engines than there are in downtown Chicago, right next to the lake. Also in the Chicago, I looked right next to the lake, so there could be wind, humidity issues, temperature issues. So I don't have a clear answer as to why it's lower in Chicago last week, but there are some good explanations. Oh, sorry. On the last one, I forgot to mention, it's 12 micrograms per cubic meter over a year. So the yearly average has to be less than 12. So one day you can have a lot of PM 2.5 in the air, but keep it low for a couple of days, and then you're still good to go. It's about long-term exposure more so. Alrighty, and so for some of the health effects that cause from it going into your lower respiratory system, we have asthma, cilicosis, which is caused from silica sand, and that is just scarring on the inside of your lungs, decreased lung function, irregular heartbeat, non-fatal heart attacks, and premature deaths in people with heart or lung disease. And I'm handing it over to Mark.
So I'm Mark Larson. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what fracking is. So hydraulic fracturing is a process to extract natural gas and fossil fuels from deep in the earth. Water, like a water and chemical solution, is used to drill into the earth, and when they get deep into the layers with shale, the shale can crack and it fills with the gas or the fuels, and that's really exciting. Next slide. So in Wisconsin, a lot of hydraulic fracturing does not occur. What happens here is actually mining for the sand that's needed in hydraulic fracturing. Hydraulic fracturing actually takes place in like states like North Dakota. Here they're mining the silica sand because the size and shape that is found here in Wisconsin is the optimal for their fracking process. So this map just shows where some of the sandstone bed like formations are. That's what that beige color is across the map. A lot of it's in western Wisconsin here, and the little red cube shapes or squares show frac mines and processing plants that are currently open or in development. So this slide here goes to a link, and it talks about there are some major companies that are interested in opening processing plants currently in the Chippewa Falls area. You might have heard of a EOG plant, processing plant, which is like a really big one here in Wisconsin. Something kind of along the lines of that. So they're planning for more. So this is an overview of Chippewa Falls, and here is just an example of a monitor that we've set up in the top corner there. It's titled Chippewa Falls 2, and you can see that the box is green, which indicates that the air quality is safe, good. A little to the left in the top corner, it is a map or is a diagram of this week's or that week's PM 2.5 levels in Chippewa Falls. As you can see, it's like generally in a safer lower level. Green and yellow are safer, whereas if it gets into like the orange or red range, we start to get concerned. So this is a we actually go back to. So this was you can see it in the slide that we were just on in the lower corner. This is like options that we can change in the map to like adjust what we see. So we can change like the time averages, and if we're looking at PM 2.5 or PM 10. And then this is just like the color gradient scale, which is going to be familiar with, but it kind of just gives you like a quick, just at a quick glance, you can see where the air quality levels are. It's green or yellow, it's pretty safe. Once you start to get into like orange, red, or darker, then you start to So this is an example of an air monitor that we set up in Eau Claire. You can see that the level is at 60, and that indicates that it's kind of like in the or approaching like a higher level. We see that often at this particular site because there is a Pacific Union Rail way station there, and the locomotives idle all night long. So it's common for the quite high. So this is we're just this is just kind of like describing the particular monitors that we use inside of the sensors. I can show you what they look like too. Yeah, so it's like the size of a softball roughly, and there's a laser inside of here which can measure the PM 2.5 concentration in the air. It can also measure temperature, humidity, and PM 10. We like to use these because they're a lot cheaper compared to some federally regulated similar monitors that can be thousands of dollars, as opposed to these, which usually range around $250. So it's a lot cheaper. And also, the data that we collect is uploaded to the Purple Air website, and anybody can access it. Like anybody in the community or just researchers that want data and can download the information. You can use it just to see what the air quality is like in your area. So this is just the sources that we use to make. And if anybody has any, if they have concerns, if maybe they live by a processing plant or a mine or like a railroad station, they can reach out to our group, and we would be happy to hear what you have to say and the concerns you have, and maybe help out. Maybe we could get a monitor and investigate further.
All right, anybody got any questions right now off of that? Yes.
Do you have monitors in towns other than Eau Claire?
We can put monitors wherever they have Wi-Fi, so we need a Wi-Fi signal, so we can update it to the website and an outlet. So you can put them wherever, just as long as we have permission from the homeowner or whoever is at the property. So we can put them anywhere. If you go on the Purple Air website, you can actually see monitors all around the world. So if you look, like scroll out into just the United States, there's monitors all over the place. And if you want to know the website, it is purpleair.com. Spelled exactly like it sounds.
Do we take a field trip?
And now it is time for a field trip. For our online crew, I will be staying inside, showing you exactly what they're going to do outside, just inside. For the outside crew, follow Mark.
So let's see. In case you do in the picture.
I can take this off so she's the
Okay.
camera's on her.
Yeah, that's one.
You see if you can hold the microphone close when you're talking. People that are viewing from home, we have three that are watching at home. They're having trouble hearing.
Yeah, so we're gonna go up and start.
Sound good? There we go. Alrighty, to those of you viewing at home, I am Casey. I I'm the woman who you heard speaking. So this is a purple air monitor for those of you who couldn't see it earlier. As Mark was saying, it is about the size of a softball. And so usually these are installed outside, but they're easy to install inside too. And they work by little particles go in the bottom right here. And it uses lasers to sense how much PM 2.5, PM 10. It measures the air quality index. There's a lot of cool, it does a lot of cool functions. So I'm gonna just put the microphone down for 1 second because I only got 2 hands. And I'm gonna just show you essentially what they're just doing outside. Usually it's attached to a wall, so it's a little easier. Only a one-handed job. There we go. So then you kind of do that. Ta-da! That's the hard part. And so the reason that we are, shaking some silica sand or burning some incense right under the monitor is just to see if it's working. But if you are on the Purple Air website, you can search the Augusta monitor, and there should be, at least in a minute, 2 big spikes from the last about half an hour. The first big spike is from when me and Mark went outside, burned some incense, shook a little silica sand from underneath it. And the second spike is either coming right now or should be coming soon. And that's from when they're outside right now, burning a little incense under it. And so that's just to prove that it can sense the PM 2.5 in the air. And that maybe if you're burning incense at home, you shouldn't just start breathing it in all big. And does anybody have any questions? I don't know if I can hear them, but somebody types them in some way. I can answer them.
No questions at the moment.
All right. Hopefully it stays on there, but if it doesn't, it's just one in the corner, and then you just connect to public library. There we go.
Nice.
Anytime. Here, stand there.
I missed the beginning of the talk. How long have you guys been doing the monitors?
So Dr. Pierce has been doing research like this for 12 years. I don't know if he's always been doing it with the monitors. All right. So Stacy was asking how long we've been doing research like this. And so Dr. Pierce has been doing air quality frac sand research for 12 years now. I'm not sure how long he's been using the purple air monitors and installing them near people's homes. I've personally been doing this research for about a year now. I am not a public health major in the slightest. I am an economics major. So I started doing this research because I used to work in the same office as Dr. Pierce, and then COVID happened and I lost my job. And he said, "Would you like to join my research team?" And I said, "Yes, it sounds like a blast." And so I'm learning a lot about air quality, fracking, frac sand, PM 2.5. So he's been doing it for quite a while. I've been doing it for longer than I've had a lot of jobs.
Has anybody addressed how air quality may be still affected, even though the frac sand mines may be closed?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of our research right now is a lot of frac sand mines are closed or running at a lower capacity as compared to a couple of years ago, just because last March of 2020, a lot of them closed down just to decreasing oil demands. I'm not sure if you remember, but gas was very, very cheap. And so they didn't need to be open because they weren't selling any gas. And so since then, a lot of them have either remained closed or at limited capacity. It turns out that a lot of frac sand operators are realizing that sand in Texas is good enough. It's not as good as our Wisconsin sand, but it's good enough. And the shipping cost is so much cheaper because you're moving it from Texas to Texas instead of Wisconsin to Texas. And so right now we're focusing on like creating baselines and seeing what happens when mines do reopen, if they reopen fully. And so, yeah, that's part of our research is looking at how the sand is affected by mines being closed, or the air quality is being affected by mines being closed.
So you had said, or your partner had said that these sensors are a lot cheaper than the other version. Does that affect their effectiveness or their sensitivity or their overall ability to work?
Yes, that is a very, very great question that I'm going to ask Dr. Pierce about because I don't know the answer, but that is a great question. I would think so. We part of our research goals for this semester is to go to Kingston, and there are like we have I'm not sure if it's us, but there's a monitor there. It's not a purple air monitor. It's like a federally regulated sort of thing. So we go there, we take these little plates of dust and sand and such, we take those out, and we measure PM 2.5 from that. And those are very, very accurate. And those are actually part of how we calibrate these ones. So when you're on the Purple Air website, it'll show, you can click a section where it's like raw PM 2.5 data, and then you can download all the data for folks viewing at home. I've done enough of it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not that fun. So when we do that and we're doing calculations on that for like our research, we have a correction factor. So we just have them like, I can't remember what it is, but they're usually a little bit off. Like if there's very, very low amounts of PM 2.5 in the air, it underreports. And if there's very, very high amounts, it's known to overreport. But that section right in the middle works like a charm.
Is this the link that shows us the bottom one, the purple one?
Yes, it does. It will. I don't know where it will show you on the map, but it will show you somewhere on the map.
Should we try it?
Why not? You can show the people at home the Purple Air website. I spend a lot of time on that website.
Okay, I'm just gonna share your PowerPoint again, or try. There we go. Scene control. Or not. It did not work. Hold on.
I can absolutely find it out there.
This way I didn't have to.
Alrighty, for those watching at home, we have the Purple Air website. Oh, I think we'll have the Purple Air website in a second. But we're about to show you the Purple Air
Have you seen this?
website. If you're on the Purple Air website looking at the Augusta Public Library right now, you will see that it is very high, very red. I promise you, you all are safe. It's just because Mark is out there burning incense 1 inch from the sensor.
I'm sharing it.
Oh, nice.
Okay, good.
All right, so you guys see the Purple Air monitor? All right, perfect. I'm gonna just sneak up nice and close to it so I can mess with it a little bit. So you get to see my pretty face all up close and personal.
And so right here, this is the Augusta Public Library one. It's pretty easy to find on account of it's the only one in Augusta. So right now we can see that it's at 168, which is far too high for general everyday sort of measures, but thankfully it's just marked, so no need to worry. And so if you double click on this, it'll zoom you in. Usually it's, there we go. Alrighty, so right here on the left-hand side, we see how we can see, oh my Lord, we can see the last couple of days on the monitor. As you can see, generally speaking, it's in green and yellow sort of range. And the average has been 36.6, which is a little higher than normal, but I'm also going to take a guess that the average is being negatively affected right now by a couple of outliers. So I wouldn't stress too much about that. And then, so if we scroll out, you can see that there are purple air monitors in many of them in the United States and some in almost every country on Earth. So far, the only countries I haven't been able to find one are North Korea and China. So if we give it a second to load.
How many monitors have you guys installed?
I personally have installed 3 or 4. I'm not sure how many they did before me. I'm gonna guess about 3 or 4 before me. So probably about 10 or 15. I'm gonna guess 10 or 15. But I'm not totally sure.
In West Central Wisconsin?
Yep, we locate it pretty like because our research is mostly reflecting on frac mining in West Central Wisconsin, so that's where most of ours are installed. So it's taking a second to load, so I'm actually just gonna go back so we can see a nice West Central Wisconsin area of the world.
You guys know of any other research that's similar to what you're doing that's being done in other parts of the country?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know. I know that we had a paper published a few years ago in like the Journal of Public, I can't remember what journal, but it was like a pretty prestigious journal, and it was talking about how like our frac sand mining testing was unique. And so finally, here up on the Purple Air website, we're starting to get some dots. As you can see in Minneapolis, St. Paul, there's plenty. And here in the Eau Claire area, we have a lot. There's a lot north of Eau Claire because this is where a lot of the frac sand mines are. So these are all of these ones pretty like north of Eau Claire are us. We installed them at residential properties close to the frac sand mines in hopes that we could right now gather baseline air quality data, but starting when the mines open, starting to collect more accurate data on how they affect the residents near them. So we go to over here, that's Chippewa. That one that Mark was talking about is a fun one to look at because it is like next to train. We just installed that one maybe 6 months, not even 6 months ago. And it's because the residents next to it, they are gonna build a housing development and it's a stone's throw away from train tracks that run all night. And the people in the area were really concerned about building a housing development there. So we installed that one. Can't remember which one that is, but you will see. So like this one, you can see that there was a pretty high spike right there. I'm not entirely sure what caused that one because that one wasn't us. But it sounds like our field trip crew is back. I do not, should I just keep it as it is if they're looking at, I don't know what to present. What to screen share.
How's it going?
I mean, Casey was showing us the Purple Air website here, so
Nice.
that's what they've seen, and they saw your spikes from outside.
Oh, did they? Did you saw our spike then?
Yes, we
That's
did.
sweet. I love that. Starting to go down a little bit now, we're at 160. 169. Are we at 160 there for the Augusta Public Library?
Yes.
Are there any more questions, any more thoughts, things you've heard about, or is anybody interested in monitoring who live in our facility that you're concerned about? So we can monitor available. So for people online, if you are interested in having a monitor and live near a frac sand facility, please let us know. 836-5589. 715-836-5589 is my office number, and I'd be glad to talk with you. Through the generosity and hard work of people like that, we have funding to be able to reach out to community members and provide these at no cost. So please let us know. So are there any questions or points of view? We tell you're very well informed. Given thoughts or difficult questions, and challenge my students. I love those questions.
Suppose, if you were to have one of these monitors
Mhm.
and it shows high standards, then what happens?
Then what you do is you use one of these binders that Pat Papa put together, and it's a way for us to talk to the DNR, file an official complaint, and Pat outlines the kinds of things you need, like the time, the date, photos, who to contact.
Okay.
So it's, I find it really empowering if you want to have an input, and there's an official way to register complaints with the DNR. So those are the ways to do that.
There are other locations, for example, if you were at a railroad crossing.
Yeah.
And you saw, still in the sand coming out of the railroad car. That would be something that you would report. The only thing is that you probably should report it to the highway department or to some other, if you look it over pretty closely, you'll see various places where you can do the reporting. It might not be the DNR. It could be other violations that are going on that you see that maybe should be reported to some other authority. And I think the important part is to make sure that we document these things, because it's so easy for authorities to say, well, I didn't know, I wasn't told, or it just plain didn't happen. And with the citizen, the citizen who becomes the scientist and or the reporter is really critical, because at some point in time, when people start getting sick and are being affected by frac sand, the mining or the processing or the transport facilities, that we have documentation to show that indeed something has happened here and it needs to be corrected.
Just to make clear, we as scientists at the University of Wisconsin take no pro anti-sand mining facility. We want to get good information to folks in the community, to the DNR. We actually share our results with the industry as well. So our job is to do science and share that with people who then can make their own decisions about approving whatever steps are taken for these facilities. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Someone asked if those forms are available somewhere online.
Could we leave some at the library here and your patrons could come pick it up maybe? Or Pat,
Are you talking about the
This
state
exactly,
federal
yep.
program? Definitely, they are online.
Oh, they are.
I mean, the actual information is online. And Sweetie Lewis, I'm married, but she has a little presentation that goes through how you can report using this program. So, and I don't have that, well, actually, there is a. Yeah, there, within this sheet of paper, you will see the link to that location at Purple Land. Now, it's
Public labs.
public land, I'm sorry. So, but if they want to
They're
have.
probably not so appropriate.
I
We'll
have,
add it,
I
we'll
have some
add
work
links
at home.
to the.
And I have some of the funds, but I do have them and I can mail them out to anyone who is seriously concerned about documenting events. Especially with break mining, but it could be other events as well, like documenting odors that, because they're either coming off a landfill. Or documenting other things that are occurring in a community, like woodworking place or something where they're having all these fine particulars coming on. So there are other industries and other things that could be documented if we're looking for a solution.
I just want to reiterate my offer to the ladies that if you'd like information about the sawmill investigation, air quality, if you could just give me a call and I can get you that information. 715-836-5589. And the health department received a complaint, they did an investigation, that we share the results of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, Reggie did that. The young woman in the purple shirt putting up the monitor, she did that work. So you already know her. She's a really nice young lady. Now working with the health department. Great. Any other questions or points? Anything online? Any other issues folks want to raise?
I just want to make sure that you know there's some information back of this table here. So if there's something that is of interest to you, please feel free to pick it up. There's one called Pillar Pollution. So it talks about air pollution and gives some graphs and things like that. So if you are interested in sharing those with other people, that's fine. There are some posters on frac sand mining. Some are on the mining and also the relationship with water. But I brought them in case you were, you were interested. Also, if there's anyone who'd like to receive the frac sand sentinel, and we send that out on occasion. And it often has documents and articles and other things about air quality, but also about the industry in general. So feel free to, I think probably most of you signed up at some point here, but feel free to just indicate that you'd be interested in receiving a vaccine. We have to add you to the list.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate that. I guess with that, we'll just finish up. Thank you so much for your attention, for hosting us. It'd be really nice to be here and get to meet you all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.